All right, this is part 2 of our Chihuly stained glass sculptural project. So what we did in part 1 was we created these stained glass pieces. We took water-based markers. I used the Mr. Sketch. You could use anything as long as it's not permanent. And we drew some different shapes with different colors. On top of those shapes, we then used the Elmer's glue. Nice thick layer so that it totally covered it. And then I told you you had to wait about a day. 24 hours, maybe a little less. Actually, mine seemed to dry a little quicker than that. And you're going to start peeling them up. You can see I peeled a couple up already just to test it. Depending on what surface you glued them onto, they might come out very smooth and shiny. The foil will create a very smooth, shiny surface, so will the flat sheet of plastic. But if you used a plastic bag or saran wrap, you're going to end up with a bit more of a rippled, rough effect, which I actually kind of like too, because a lot of Chihuly's pieces have that sort of rippled look. So I have a kind of like a soft place in my heart for that too. I think they look really neat also. So it really just depends on your preference. So what you're going to want to do is get one end and peel gently, because just in case it sticks. And as you can see, none of the marker stayed on the surface. It all soaked into the glue. And you have these beautiful sort of translucent, you can see sort of like my finger right through it, these beautiful translucent glass-like looking pieces. Mostly flat, but what's nice about the glue is that it's very flexible. And you should be able to, this one end feels like it's sticking a little bit at the one end, and so you just want to do it gently and carefully. If you feel like it's really not working, you can always peel it off. But again, your foil should be totally clean. Everything should be clean except for the actual glue pieces. And what's nice about this is because it is glue, it has a little bit of a bendable quality to it. So I can sort of bend it and reshape it if I want it to be a different shape. As you can see how I've created sort of a cool bend to that. You can do some of that if you want. They do sometimes naturally want to curl like this. Kind of looks like a Pringles potato chip, which also looks cool because again, his sculptures are very three-dimensional. So that is how you're going to get your little stained glass pieces. And next we're going to talk about finishing them up. What can we do to finish these off to create a piece of artwork for display? Okay, the way I'm going to show you that I'm going to finish off my work may not work for everybody. Not everybody might have all of the supplies that we need for this one part, but if you do, you can follow the directions of what I'm doing. If you don't have the supplies that I have, I'll talk to you about a couple other ways that you could display these different fun things you could do. And honestly, you might come up with some cool ideas of your very own. But let's talk about the ways that we are going to finish them off to make them a standing sculpture. So the way we're going to do that is you're going to first need pipe cleaners. I know this is not something that is common to everyone's household. If you have pipe cleaners, awesome. You're gonna have a fun time with this. If you don't have pipe cleaners, other things that could work is popsicle sticks, craft sticks. You could use toothpicks, anything that has like a stick-like quality to it that's kind of straight. You know, you could even probably use sticks from out in nature. So those would be things that you could use. What we want to use these for is we want to have them as sort of a stem to our work, something that will hold it up when it stands straight up from our base, which is the next thing we're going to do. What you're going to need for this next part are your pipe cleaners or your sticks, toothpicks, whatever you've decided to use to help your little pretend stained glass pieces stand up. And you're going to need a pair of scissors to cut them down. No matter what you're using, you might want to cut them a little bit. Make sure you have a good pair of scissors that are strong, that will cut either wood or your wire well. And you're also going to want a piece of cardboard and that piece of foil that you would use. If you don't have foil and you never used foil, we can end up just coloring and decorating this cardboard. That'll work too. This is just from a cardboard box. Actually, this side is just a straight color, so if you like the color, you can just kind of use that too. And you'll need that also. So a scrap piece of something heavy. If you don't have cardboard, if you have foam, or you have anything else that you can kind of have these things stand up off of. Okay, that's the idea. So let's start with attaching these pieces to our little pieces, because this is going to take a little time again. Every step we do is going to have a little time in between to let things dry. I'm going to try to do some different lengths. If I glue this to the end, this is going to be a really, really tall one, and I'm not sure I want it to be that tall. So what I did to get it to that length first was I took my long pipe cleaner and folded it in half, found the middle, and then I took my scissors and cut it. Cuts it pretty easily. And I'm going to do that again. Fold it in half, find the middle, cut it in half. I'm going to do that for whatever colors that I want. And remember, you could try different lengths too if you want to. I'm going to do these all about the same length, and then I think I might try some different lengths after that. So maybe I'll have maybe one that's a little shorter, maybe one that's a little bit longer. Make sure when you're doing your cutting, you're being really safe and careful so you don't cut yourself or anything else that you didn't want to have cut. All right, so I have a bunch. I think I'm going to set these orange ones aside. So I think I'm going to stick with just the blue and the purpley looking ones, because I have a lot of blue and purple here, and I kind of think it'll match and look nice. So once you have that, you're going to start gluing these pieces to the actual object. So I'm going to take my glue. You'll need liquid glue, of course, again, which you should already have because of this. I will say, if you have a hot glue gun, this part will go a lot faster. So if you don't have a hot glue gun, you're going to do what I'm doing. You're going to take your glue, put a pipe cleaner on it. Make sure you're putting it on something that you can let it sit like that for a while. Okay, so we're just going to glue these right on it, and when that's done, I'll show you what the next step is. While your pieces are drying off to the side, you can be working on your base. So this is something you can be doing, again, if you're doing a standing sculpture. We're going to have things standing up off of it. So you can decide what size you want. I'm trying my best to cut on the lines that I'm seeing so that it's not so ripped and wobbly on the side. And it doesn't matter what size you make it, it's up to you. You decide how big you want it to be. But once you have your shape that you like, you can either leave the cardboard as it is, or you could choose to cover it in foil. The reason why I would cover it in foil is I just think it gives it a nice shiny surface that really looks cool, having your pieces popping out from it. So in order to do that, I'm going to take my foil and I'm going to put my cardboard face down on it. I'm going to get my glue again, once again, and glue on the edges of my cardboard. Glue some stripes or zigzags in the middle, so I'm filling it up well, and then placing it somewhere inside my foil piece. I'm going to cut this down because I don't need all of this foil, but I'm going to make sure I leave a border. Okay, and it doesn't have to be cut super neatly either, because we are going to be folding this over. So once I have this, now I'm going to fold it kind of like a present, but I want this to stick to the board. So again, I'm going to use some of my glue again. If you don't have liquid glue for this part, you can use a glue stick also. That would be fine. And again, you could use hot glue, although hot glue is probably going to be a little bit hard to do with foil, because foil is metal and heat runs through metal really well. It's called conducting. It's conducted through it really well. And so that means that if this was hot glue and I took this and folded over and put my fingers on it, I'd be burning my fingers right now, because I'd be able to feel the heat really, really well through the metal, and that would not make my fingers feel very good. So I would be very careful if you choose to do that. If you choose to use hot glue, I would use something like a pencil or a pair of scissors like this to do the flattening, so your fingertips aren't actually doing the work and getting hurt. And I'm trying to get real close to the edge and get any little pieces that are folding off, because I want it to be really neat and nice. Ooh, I have gluey fingers too. So when I'm done, I should have a really nice, beautifully surfaced metal stage to put all of my pieces on. For this next part, we're going to, again, while the glue is drying on our little stained glass pieces, and while the glue is drying on our cardboard, you can do this next step while everything is still going on. The next step is going to require something that you can poke through. I would recommend a pencil or a pen, something that has a good strong point to it so it doesn't fall apart on you. If this doesn't work, you can try something a little sharper, but this should work pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to poke some holes through, because that's where my little stems are going to go. And you want to decide where you want them on here, and make sure you have as many holes as you do little stained glass pieces. So if I have, let's say, 7 pieces, I'm going to make 7 holes. If you only have 3 or 4, you're going to make 3 or 4 holes. Decide how close you're going to put them together too. So I already put one right in the center. You can see how I did that. It kind of pokes through the other side a little bit. I'm going to do another one over here. I'm like actually put my scrap cardboard underneath it so that I had something to push into a little bit, so that if I wouldn't damage the table or anything else. And once I got it started, then I can put it in, and it takes a little muscle. You have to wiggle and twist the pencil back and forth. And if you can't get to poke all the way through, that's okay, even if it's poked just a little way through. But poking all the way through can be nice, because you can then loop it in and kind of get a lot of good stuff. And this would work, like I said, for anything else. If you have sticks, if you have toothpicks, whatever it is you might have that you're using for this project. So we're going to finish poking all these holes, then I'm going to show you what to do next.